trying to present with this guy. He's a really hard act to follow. What I want to share with you now is, as our committee began our research, we quickly learned that school leadership and good classroom teaching can overcome the disadvantages of many students. So if you take a look at this graph right here, what it depicts, if you look at the cluster at the top left corner, I don't really have a little red thing to show you that, so just help, oh, Jim will help us out there, right here. This area right up here, this is a group of 7th grade students, and this is actually the New York public school system. Each dot represents a classroom of students from the each dot represents a school within the New York public school district. And those at the top are those that have very high SES. In other words, not many of their students are qualifying for free and reduced lunch. And they're also performing very highly on their state tests. That's hence the big cluster at the top. You can see as the graph moves to the right, the students, the dots, the schools start to widen. The disparity becomes greater. And so what you see is that as we have more students in the New York public schools that come from families with the lower SES or on high free and reduced lunch, the number of students performing varies greatly. What we really want to find out is what are those schools where the dots are at the very top, you can see the circle, what are those schools doing differently? What's working at those schools that possibly might not be working at some of the schools that are falling down below that trend line? And that's what our committee really wanted to dive into. And what we found out is that quality teaching does make a difference in student learning. So, things we established as a philosophy of the teacher evaluation page. And you can follow along in the book with me if you'd like for that one. It is page number 5, yes. It's on the back side. So our primary objective of improving the instruction and fostering a positive learning environment, that's our philosophy, that's our objective, is getting in there and improving the quality of teacher instruction and also making sure that we're fostering a positive learning environment in every single classroom. So the common thread of our evaluation system is the rubric that we designed. And the rubric is really just a definition of what does good teaching look like. It provides the administrator and the teacher with common language so that everyone knows what is expected of them, what teaching, good teaching is going to look like within the classroom and outside of that classroom as well. And so we really took a lot of time to go through that rubric and make sure that it fit what we needed here in our school district. And it's also, like I said, the common thread, but it provides us with the professional growth as well, so that we know what's expected of us, and that will help us in our professional growth plan, so that we can work with that as well. Multiple times throughout the year, the administrators are going to be going into the classrooms and providing input, observing teachers and looking at those teachers and collecting information and evidence based on what's going on in those classrooms. The administrator will also be looking at other settings. They'll be looking at the group PLC time. They may be sitting in on parent conferences to gather information there as well. They may also be looking at curricular responsibilities, how that teacher is performing in curricular responsibilities, as well as collaborative assignments that they're doing, and school-wide student performance data, as well as student input throughout the year. So there will be a lot of evidence with which to base that yearly reflection that the teacher and administrator will have the opportunity to participate in.
Maria just ran through a list of things that the evaluation would be based on, and one of those things you mentioned is student input. I don't know if you caught that or not, but that may make a few of you nervous, and we understand that. We had a long discussion a couple of times actually about that. We want to reassure you what it won't look like. And here's one thing that it won't look like. Student says to the teacher, I just want to let you know that my grade will reflect poorly on your upcoming evaluation. It won't look like that. All right? It won't look like this either. Here's a standardized test that the kids are going through, and the evaluator says, aha, you don't fit the standard. No raise for your teacher next year. Those are some things that won't look like. I also want to say this is really fun doing with Maria because I put the PowerPoint together, so I get to do all the comics, and then she gets to do the other part. So, yeah, that's part of it. So, administrators, that's a little nugget for you. Volunteer to do the PowerPoint.
Okay, so I either need to improve my tech skills next time so I can put the PowerPoint together, or no, this is great practice. Hey, Jim already shared this slide with you, so you understand the concept of that one visit, classroom visit that the administrator is conducting. What we know now is that formal evaluation. And what we want to move to, what we're presenting to you today, is the chance to go ahead and move to a different model. So, very good. So instead of that one visit per year, we're looking at multiple unannounced visits throughout the school year. As we talked about yesterday, it's an opportunity for administrators to get in, see classrooms beginning in September, all the way through the end of the school year, and to give teachers feedback so that we have a continuous improvement of teacher performance, which we all know is going to help lead to that increased student learning. So all teachers will receive feedback throughout the course of the year. We will no longer be waiting for that end of the year, 3-year cycle evaluation to see how we're doing. We're going to get feedback and have some deep, rich discussions as the year goes on. So those one-on-one conversations is really what we're promoting here. The opportunity to have that administrator walk in your room and within 24 hours get back to you, have a face-to-face discussion on that lesson that was occurring. And those mini observations, as we call them, are really quite short. They're 5 to 15 minute quick snapshot of what's going on in your classroom as a teacher. So we know that this is going to be trends. We're looking for trends of good performance as we go along, similar to progress monitoring that we do with our students, so that when we see a teacher that is struggling, or in the case of a student, sliding is no longer at benchmark, we're going to get in and help support that teacher to bring them back up to a level of confidence so that we know the quality instruction is occurring. Just like you would with a student, you would get in there and get them into an intervention program and help them get the support that they need so that they also can get back on track. Sure. Yesterday, Jim had a thought. Yesterday I shared with the group, that's his one thought for the day, for the year. Yesterday I shared with the group, and I'll briefly share it again, just my experience as a teacher, as an educator. And the way that I always thought about that 3-year formal evaluation is more of a recertification, just like you would get for your CPR card or maybe your scuba diving card. And it really is a skills checklist. And really, in my mind, that's what I always thought of it, is every 3 years, my administrator is going to walk in. I'm going to make sure I am going through my checklist. You know, in the old days, it was Madeline Hunter. I tip, make sure I went through all the steps. Nowadays, walk in, I'm going to make sure I've got those clear objectives on the board, got students engaged, got some differentiated instruction going on. And so more of a checklist. And once I was cleared by my checklist, I was good to go for another 3 years, just like you are with your CPR card or your scuba diving license. So in my mind, that's how I thought of it. Now it's a completely different model. Now it's more of a learning, we're engaged, and it's a progressive multiple times throughout the year. So very different model than what we've seen in the past. What we'd like to do now is take a couple of minutes to share with a partner your thoughts regarding the shift in observational view, so that example I just gave, to the mini observation model that will be happening multiple times throughout the year. So take just a couple of minutes and get with a partner and share that with them. Okay, if you want to finish that last sentence now, we'll pull back together. Okay, Karen, over here to the side, has a mic, and we'd love to hear some of your thoughts. So if you want to just raise your hand, Karen will come around. We'd love to hear some of your thoughts as far as moving from the formal evaluation to the many-minis. Anybody? Raise your hand, and Karen will come around. And any thoughts at all that you might want to share at your table? Something that your table thought of? There's one. Bruce has got something.
I'll just talk. I can talk about it, Mike. I think one of the things that we thought was effective is that it's raising the bar both for teachers but also for administrators, and it's also really effectively aligning the two. I mean, we agree clearly the current system is completely arbitrary, and what this does is it sort of creates a system and a cycle where the administrator is much more involved in the curriculum development. They have a better sense of what should be going on at a particular time, and they can, check in really quickly and see, am I seeing that at that time in the school year? So I think it's really moving things in the right direction. It's going to take a while to get there, but I think it's clearly a significant improvement.
And we really want the work to be meaningful, and we're hoping that this mini-meeting will make our work meaningful.
So I'm going to share for Roger, my colleague, who raised his hand about it was an administrator that makes a difference to him. Because really, our administrators at the school are already taking those frequent temperature checks. Like, we don't know when Michael and Terry are going to just stop in. And so they've already been doing that and already sharing little nuggets of information or splitting up the class and picking up the class and helping out in that way. So we've already seen evidence that it does work.
That's awesome. Anybody else would like to share out just a little bit? Any other thoughts? We'll have other opportunities for pair share as we go today, but what we want to do is really start diving into the work now and presenting the key components, and we're going to have our committee members do that. Again, just to reiterate, we did break into small groups within our subcommittee, so the people that are coming up now are the ones that were within that small group for each key component. And our key components are flow charts is what we're going to present to you first. And this is our 5,000-foot view level look, and so it'll really help give you an overview of the teacher evaluation program. A rubric is a shared definition of good teaching. If you can think of it in that way, that it's really the common language that we're all sharing when we think of the evaluation system. Many observations, we'll present our observations information, that committee, and also goal setting and our professional growth activities that we have planned for down the road.